Yeah, man, just all
I am under the lights.
You started recording, you knew you were leaving the room and you
No,
left the recording
I
on.
just started.
Oh, you just started? Yeah, Tom.
I think he said something.
Okay, so at this point, I'm going to turn to my second part of my presentation, which has to do with, I just shared the screen. Principles. Is this beginning? Jumped a bit. I need to go back. Oh, like that. The functions of assessment. So this is going to be, having done that introduction, so basically what I was doing was introducing you to the content of the course. I'm going to start back now and kind of take you through the principles that I want you to be adhering to going forward. So why do we assess students? I'm going to put you in groups across sites. So you know that you're going to be using your WhatsApp to do this, right? So discussing in your group, I would say 3 of you. How many persons here? 6? Let's just use 3 groups. 2 groups. Yes. All right, I'm going to allow you to decide who you're working with and who is in your group. So, so Dana and Roslyn, you're going to choose members of your group.
Okay, Jessica.
Okay.
Oh, we're getting something.
All right, so Dana and Roslyn, you're going to choose who you want to be in your group. And you're going to discuss it in your group and suggest the 3 most important reasons why you assess students. This is based on your previous experience, by the way.
Okay, I'm gonna choose Talia and Courtney.
Oh, next one is here, remember? Next one, Google that. Hi.
Well, my fellow solutions, you're with me?
Yeah.
All right.
Really?
Dana, who are you choosing?
My solutions.
Okay, so
Well, you choose me.
so I guess you have Jessica and the Jamaicans, right?
No, well, Rosalind chose the Jamaicans already, so.
Oh, Roslyn chose it. Okay, and next
Yes.
one.
She chose Failure and Courtney.
You have,
I am the cheese.
My Jamaican. Somebody has a radio or TV on or something.
It's really, the background is very noisy.
yeah.
Okay, it's better.
All right, so just this is only a 5-minute discussion, by the way. So please use your WhatsApp tools to do this.
We can't do any groups in that.
In Zoom?
No, because my phone battery dead.
All right, you want to use Facebook then? What about Facebook?
We'll WhatsApp this way.
All right.
We'll substitute. Next on your.
So you have Roslyn in your WhatsApp?
Rosalind, do you have a WhatsApp?
Yes, I do. 1767.
Just telling everybody it is
That's fine.
1777.
17.
No.
Her number is here.
1767.
Oh, 767, okay.
265.
265.
5488.
5488.
Yes.
Alrighty.
And Dexon, you have Dexon?
You have next one?
Here's the number.
Oh, all right then.
Dexon? You have to unmute when you're talking, Dexon. We're not hearing you. We're not hearing you. You have to click the audio button, unmute it. Still not hearing you, that son.
Testing 1, 2. Hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
Wow. Yes, as you were saying.
You're saying that you're in the WhatsApp group with Talia, Courtney, and Roslyn.
Great.
So I gave them your number, so you need to be checking your phone for a WhatsApp.
Cool. Thank you.
Beat you. Yeah, well, you don't have my name.
Oh, you're working now? Because I wanted to set up.
Last name, you know, so I don't know what's your interview. Yeah, convert it to numbers. Like I said, I don't use. Saying you don't have me as that, so so all the time when I said works out, is it works? Goodness, I don't know what to think that we're doing.
The group is supposed to say, why do we access it?
Why do we assess?
Talia,
See,
did you add me yet?
I'm trying to get there.
Courtney is adding because my phone battery is
Okay.
that I'm trying to send an email.
I'm trying to get okay with the WhatsApp technology because I don't really use it that often.
Oh. Maybe if you give me your number, I'll just send you one.
All right. Talia is going to try to set up a chat in Zoom. That is according to the rules.
Oh, but we could chat in Zoom, yeah.
So
We have to be
let's
two
just try that.
chats.
This is what.
We could chat in Zoom.
It would have to be two chats. Two
separate chats, two groups. So you're gonna put the Talia. You're gonna put this room, Dexter and Roslyn in one group and the others in the other. Yeah. That's good. Go back to the
Zoom is on this already?
Stop sharing then.
Zoom.
Okay, so you have to go to chat and then choose the persons who you want to chat with, right?
There's an online version to Zoom, right?
Yeah. Zoom.us/.
So they can go to if they go to no, they have to go to the individual.
Excuse me, where can we find the thingy for this? Because we're on
Oh,
the
you
site,
want
so we
this-
don't know what the number
Okay,
is
oh, you want
for this meeting.
it's 803. So you when you go to Zoom, just join and
Right.
so 803-987. You have to remember to mute your mic. 811. Oh, they don't have anything anyway. They don't have any camera. I think this one has it.
No, they have camera. Once you go to Zoom.us, you enter the number.
803?
803-987. It's at the top. 811.
987. 987 821.
Oh, 803.
You got to go to chat. You got it? See it? Download it.
Yes, download it and I'm not running.
Is on straight the other student got the link to the meeting the floor and the WhatsApp. It will just go straight to that. They didn't get
It's just that we didn't get it because we're here.
We get it. But one of them get it. I don't know it. One of them would have to send it to you.
No, I'm not saying that's wrong. They should send it to everybody because suppose
They're supposed to
have
be
to
there.
access from.
That's true. Are you in? Anybody here in?
No, it downloaded at the setting up, but now it tells me it failed to install. Come on, we did the.
You have
we did the
anybody's
thing,
email offsite?
Yeah,
Rosalind.
Ask Rosalind to send the link.
Rosalind,
Yes.
can you send the link to my email for me, please?
Okay.
Zoom link.
All right then.
You just move my PowerPoint screen.
Okay.
See when she do it. She moved it. She did it. Yes, she did it.
I'm going to forward.
So then that question to figure out. So when you go to chat, they will just click on individual first. The chatting went. But all of the chat wouldn't be in one. I think
Did you get it?
because you won't be able to have that interchange between all of you. WhatsApp.
Did you get it, Courtney? I just did.
Yeah, I'm logging in.
All right.
Send it to me too.
Oh, my precious Talia.
Exactly. I don't understand that.
But what are they?
Sorry.
From here.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
So you just keep on looking, go straight on the link for the meeting.
Talia Bachelor.
See, this is what
I just did.
Yay.
You got it?
Oh my gosh, I hate this so much.
So why don't you guys use Google Hangout?
Yeah, but we could use Zoom. We're on Zoom.
That's how I'm trying to do what these guys are.
It's not working for us.
Dana and Ophelia and what's her name? Jessica. What are you using the chat?
We're using WhatsApp.
Yeah. But I'm chatting with Dexton.
And we're also using the chat on.
We were used to chat earlier on.
Because here's the thing, if you don't use the Zoom chat, I won't see it.
We know you can use it private.
Huh? You want it private?
No, we know that you can use it private. We were speaking to each other earlier on.
Also, you're doing the Zoom for individual chatting.
No, it's the same thing. We were doing it for the when we were doing the poem and song.
When we were buying our hot dogs.
No, before when
Miss, are you seeing the chat? You see, even if it's private.
it's private, yeah.
You see that there is a chat, not the content of it.
Okay.
Oh, but you earlier.
That's all.
Let's say you look out of it, man. What's happening?
No, Dexton is there, miss. We are
Okay.
communicating quite fine
Yes, I'm just.
via chat.
You're just thinking, all right.
Yeah.
Miss, you want to know about why we assess overall or why we do formative versus summative?
I forget about formative and summative. Why do you assess students? I want you to come up with that answer.
Right, I hate laptops, man. Which kind of typing on my phone? So I type in my longer.
Some back in this.
Let's see what you're looking
So you go to participants. Click on whoever.
And then
Who are supposed to be talking to?
we're supposed to be talking to Rosalind,
So you can talk to her directly there.
but she didn't really
No, you can't do a group, but only to all. So you have to leave.
Send an email. You. I sent an email. What are we supposed to be discussing? I sent an email. You see the trouble he does give.
Right. Rosalind. Rosalind,
Yes, Courtney?
since you and Taylor myself is in Google,
And,
I'm
uh-huh.
in Google, so I will talk to you and this is what Taylor is saying as well.
Okay.
I'll
So
tell you
you are not able to log into Zoom?
Yeah, I'm in Zoom, but the thing is that based on what she's saying, is that we'll be only able to talk to one person at a time.
Oh, I see.
But
Do
still,
you know Dexton is in our group as well?
oh,
Yeah.
that's you have a Gmail?
And he has already communicated quite a bit of points there.
Did you get my email? I just sent an email to the three of you.
Oh.
You didn't even check it? Really? Oh, the gentleman. Side. I'm looking to see who you're going to respond. Are you finished? The 5 minutes is finished. Did they get a chance to do it? I sent an email. I got an email. Text on communication with Rosalind. Also communicated with the coordinator. Wasn't perfect. Using email? Yeah. Okay. What about your group, Dana? Dana? Where's Dana? Yes, Dana. What about
We're communicating, we're working.
All right, I'm gonna give you 3 minutes more. That's it.
Okay then, thanks.
Yeah.
Roslyn and Dexton, if you could weigh in on that email, that would be wonderful. Okay. Next on, weigh in. Hmm? That's what it says. Assessment and tolerance stances and that's what we're teaching what we think we are teaching. Said that is it open?
Sorry, you sent me an email?
Yes, Boo.
Ooh, Okay.
I sent you several. You know how I am.
Okay, I'm ready. You better be ready. So you have two presenters. Dana, you're gonna tell me what you gleaned from your group. And Jessica, you're gonna tell me what you gleaned from your group.
Jessica and Dana.
Roslyn, I'm sorry. Roslyn,
Roslyn.
you're gonna tell me what you gleaned. Are you ready?
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, from our end, why do we assess students? Point number one, we have to provide feedback. Second point, helps teachers to set standards, to understand whether the students have understood the concept, have they mastered it. Okay, to evaluate, third point, to evaluate the progress. Fourth point, motivate performance. The fifth point we came up with is encourages active learning. And the last point we came up with is to develop new educational, just now I'm not quite done with this.
Was that all your idea?
To develop new educational experiences for students.
Okay, so you assessed, explain that a bit more, Dana, the last point.
Jessica, you get to explain?
Yeah, what do you mean by?
What I meant was that we can determine which practices are more effective when we assess our students. So we determine what works best for us, and we can share that information with our staff.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So that's more evaluation, right, than assessment, correct?
Yeah, that is the points we came up with.
All right. Guys, the students who were listening, do you want to ask any questions based on what were the points that group came up with?
Well,
would the feedback be only the answers to the questions? Is there any room for variation in feedback? Is it just that you know that 30% of the students didn't understand this topic? Or is it like you can tell that most of the students were able to do the recall but not the analysis? Or is it something?
It would be for both ways. Feedback, meaning that the students know where they fall, and also you could help them, assist them in getting to the standard that they're supposed to be at. So it's not just letting them know where they fall, but helping them to better themselves. And the students, of course, will know that where they are at.
Okay, all right.
Did I answer your question, Talia?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so that brings us to the next group. What did you come up with?
okay, basically, I mean, Dana said it all, but I guess just to reiterate, maybe saying it in a different way, we assess students to know where they are, if they have grasped the concept that was communicated to them. That's one of our first reasons. Dexton shared quite a bit. He says to assess, I just said that one. To assess the success of the delivery of the lesson, as a requirement of the school and governmental regulations, as a means of rewarding high achievers. And by this, we mean that assessments can be a way of determining the aptitude of pupils. This will allow them this will allow the teacher some means of streaming based on abilities. Talia shared a point. She said we assess students to be able to, well, let me read it from the mail. He said, I think the main purpose of assessment is to cement the knowledge acquired by the students. So basically, just shouting loud or reiterating what Dana said, the main reasons for assessing students is really to know where the students are, to ensure that as a teacher, what you passed on to the students, that they really grasp it. And if a teacher, if after assessment, the teacher realizes, yes, okay, the student have grasped the knowledge, the information, whatever, with regard to the objective, then it makes sense to move on, you know, to another lesson, to another topic. So assessment will really give that teacher, you know, an idea or provide the knowledge that the teacher really wants to, really needs to have before moving on to another topic.
Okay. All right. So all of the above, I would say, are true. I must note, though, that Dexton's view of assessment was very traditional. And I think it's because of the time when the point at which he joined the class. The other persons in all the presentations that I heard from Dana and Roslyn, all the ideas that were shared were more skewed towards authentic assessment because of what we did earlier. So when you get a chance, Dexter, I would like you to review this class. It's recorded because we dealt with authentic assessment in a very summative way earlier. And a lot of ideas that we shared would have altered. What we did earlier would have served to alter some of your perspectives of assessment. But yeah, I like the fact that you're sharing where you are, the point at which you are when you join the class. Dana, you need to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, Rosen said that we need to reward the students, Rosen. Just to add to what you said, not only those who perform well, but also those who are at the bottom. We need to find a way of rewarding so they could be motivated to do better. Because sometimes the students, well, they do not perform well in one assessment and you give them another assessment, they might perform probably a little bit better. So you have to keep track of that and then let them know, okay, I see you're improving, it's a good thing, you know, give them some positive reinforcement so they could continue. I didn't have that in mind, but then Rosalind added it and I just wanted to add this little piece to it.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments from the group that listened?
Yes, I would like to, you know, just say, I think assessment is, if it's done, you know, very well, as Dana said, the teacher would really look at the students who are kind of at the bottom, but make what yet made, you know, they have made an improvement in it could be in their behavior, their academics, you know, and so even recognizing the most improved students, you know, all these little, you know, all these are ways, you know, that children can be motivated, as she said. Because I remember in my school, we normally have a reward ceremony where we look at the honor students, but we also look at the most improved students.
Okay, good.
These students probably never passed, but they showed some level of improvement.
That's a good idea. And as we delve deeper into the content of the course, you'll realize that students who you think are underachieving, it's not that they're not achieving, they're just not achieving at the same pace. So all students in your class, you should be able to identify some level of achievement among them. It is just the way how you set up your assessment. Because remember, a student who, if you have a class where all the students would not be at the same point, in terms of their knowledge and skills. But any movement is movement, right? Mm-hmm. So if you didn't start at the same point, why would we expect them to be at the same point that when we assess? So one of the things you have to begin to learn to do is to check your class to see where students are before you start to teach. And then you vary the assessment in accordance with the achievements that you expect based on where they started. Because if I started out at point A and you started at point B, you're going to expect us to get to point Z at the same time? No, because you started ahead of me, right? So it may take me a little longer to get to Z. Eventually I will get there, but maybe the pathway will vary. So thanks for that. So just to put a lid on today's class, it's the first class and we're testing all kinds of things. We're testing the concepts for the course. We're testing the different tools that we'll be using to deliver the course. We're testing our own abilities to handle Zoom, right? We've tested that. And we're basically trying to get a sense of how we'll progress throughout this semester. So I'm just going to wrap up this presentation. I'm not going to do all of it because it's posted online already. You can go through it on your own. But there are some key ideas, some concepts that I want to share with you before we leave. So functions of assessment, some of which you would have covered in your presentations, and thank you all for being so diligent and working at the task. That is what's going to get us through the 4 weeks. The 30 weeks of content in 4 weeks. Your diligence, so thanks for that. So the functions of assessment would be to facilitate learning, as you all said. Measure the extent a student has achieved the set objectives. So, as I said, assessment is really the tail end of teaching. So you would have set up some objectives in your lesson, and then at the end of the lesson, you want to test to see if these objectives are checked, to see if these objectives were met. So it facilitates, it motivates students to learn, and monitor and assist and improve learning through constructive feedback, right? To facilitate teaching. So in addition to facilitating learning. So here, let us talk about learning. How does assessment facilitate learning? So the student attends your class. The student experienced the content. The student participated in your class, answered questions, did activities, performed the tasks you required. When you assess them, regardless of the means through which you do this, it also tells the students what they know and understand and are able to do. So it's not a one-way street. So you must make it accessible to the students so that they can also determine based on their experience what they know, what they have learned, and what they're able to do as a result of it. With respect to facilitating teaching, it will provide feedback to assist and improve teaching. So Taylor asked about feedback. The feedback that you get has to do with, okay, was my teaching clear? Could students follow? You may teach, I may be teaching you and I'm thinking, oh guys, these guys are doing great. But when the assessment comes around, the same topic that you covered when you felt the students were doing great and were learning, it's the same thing that they're unable to do. And at that point, you're able to say, my God, what went wrong? And you can reflect on your practice and change. So in that way, assessment informs teaching. Or should I say, it should inform teaching. So that is why the two types of assessment would be important, which we're going to get to shortly. So it's for institutional and professional requirements. So to grade, to rank, to select students, and to maintain standards. As some persons said, Dexter was the most blunt in saying it, that because the government requires it. Simply. Government standards. That's why you assess. But we're in an institution like this, we're saying it should be more than just because the government requires it, right? It should be a little bit more. All right, so assessing student learning outcomes, problems with assessing student learning outcomes, that's what we're going to deal with now. discuss and share in your group any problems that you encounter. I'm not gonna do this activity actually. I'm gonna skip past it, all right? So let me just jump to the processes that are involved in assessment. So when you're assessing, assessment involves setting the assessment criteria. So what is it that you're going to be looking at? And how are you going to measure this thing that you're looking at? Providing evidence in relation to those criteria. So the task that you set up to assess must be related to the criteria that you establish, right? Making a judgment on the evidence provided. So when the students perform the task, how are you going to judge the task? How are you going to measure it? How are you going to know that this is really telling you what you need to know? Communicating the result of the judgment to the students. How will you communicate the result of the judgment? So in the earlier phases of the class, the first hour or so, 2 hours or so, you did an assessment task. What means did I use to judge it? Can you recall? Since Dexter was not here, one student just explain what happened and then another should explain how it was judged.
I volunteered to explain. Right. Okay, Dexter, what happened was we had to read on the 5 dimensions of learning, and then after reading on the 5 dimensions of learning, we were asked to come up with a way to explain what we read. And we could explain it using poetry, write a sonnet, dub poetry, some dramatization, something creative. And then we did it. Next.
So how was once you performed, once you did the assessment task, what method did I use to judge the assessment?
Missy said somebody else is going to answer.
No, I know. I'm asking. So who is going to answer that?
Don't shout at once.
Miss, you asked us to give our feedback.
Right, that's one way.
Yeah.
So the class gave feedback on what else did I do?
Well, there was an open discussion.
Right, what else? Dana?
Okay, you had somebody else gave their opinion. Tanik?
From outside the class.
Yes, outside the class gave her feedback on what she heard.
Okay. So, do you think I would have been able to arrive at a grade for each of you based on what was done?
Well, you could, but it wouldn't have been fair to us because we didn't know that we were we were going to be graded.
Don't get nervous. I'm just asking.
No. I'm just answering.
No.
If I think about it like how I do with my students, I think it would be possible because you did ask us to comment. So based on more than one person's feedback, you could have derived something. Maybe you could have set it so that the outside, that's your new name, outside persons, their opinion would be worth a certain percentage. The peers would have worth another percentage, and your opinion another percentage.
Right. So that was just an example for this class, but you could have set it up so that there was a rubric that would have been used by the persons who were assessing. Because self-assessment is an important concept in assessment. And so remember, during the formative stages, using authentic means. And so authentic means don't mean that the teacher will mark everything. Sometimes you're going to use peer assessment, sometimes you're going to use teacher assessment, and so on, right? So, so what I wanted to plan here is that I also came up with a means of communicating the results of the judgment, right? So those were the different ways that the judgment was communicated and making use of the result of the assessment. So from that, I now understand, I'm now comfortable that you understand the 5 dimensions of learning. And so I am able to move on to the next stages, to the next stage of my lesson plan. You understand how it informed me? So tomorrow I will continue with the dimensions of learning, feeling very comfortable that you have at least begun to deepen your knowledge of what these 5 things are and how they work in the teaching and learning environment. Principles of assessment. Let's just take a few the principles that are here. Principle of assessment is that it serves a clear purpose, and the central purpose, I would say, would be to improve student learning. It is an integral part of the curriculum design and planning. Okay, it is relevant. It has relevant criteria. So, I don't know why I have this here, honestly. It speaks to, assessment speaks to the following. Relevant criteria, appropriate methods. It will guide all of these things. Clear communication, and it's clear in terms of communication and transparent. Clear communication and transparent. So when you do assessment, a child can't say, depending on how you set up your assessment, the child can't say, you give me that grade because you don't like me. Okay. Yeah? Yeah. Consistent procedures, valid and practicable tasks, realistic overload. Sorry, I said overload because I'm tired. Workload, I should say. If let us say when I'm overloaded, yes. Let us say you're teaching and you get a sense that the students are not managing. You may assess to find out, okay, is it that I'm teaching too much? Right? What percentage of what I'm teaching are the students learning? Then you're able to regulate their workload to fix whatever results that you return based on the assessment that you set. Assessment allows you to provide constructive feedback to facilitate and improve learning and teaching, right? So feedback to the students on how they are learning and what they're learning and the nature of the learning process, right? To the teacher, it is your effectiveness, efficacy as a teacher is what you're able to get information on. All right? And of course, the last thing is that the assessment provides a way of regularly reviewing the system and making improvements to the system, the education system. I'm going to fix that slide. It's very clumsy. Sorry about that. I should have written more there. It's just very clumsy. Models of assessment. I spoke earlier about the first one. I explained that earlier. But there are other models of assessment. So you could use a formative, summative, which is what we discussed earlier. We're going to go a little deeper in when you come to class tomorrow. Criteria and reference versus norm-reference assessment. Contextualized versus decentralized, decontextualized assessment. So that contextualized assessment is the same as authentic assessment. So, I spoke about authentic assessment earlier, where you may ask the students to go into a shop that is within their area to do something, rather than you coming up with a scenario for them to use. When you come up with a scenario, that is called unauthentic assessment or decentralized assessment. All right? Measurement model or standards model, teacher-centered, student-centered, and you heard me mention that earlier, teacher-peer self versus teacher-peer self-assessment, right? So you can have teacher who assesses the student, you can have peer assessing each other, or you can have the student assessing him or herself. So that's different models. These we're going to delve deeper into tomorrow. Now, this is where I stop. I'm not going to go any further because this is the lesson for tomorrow. Presentation is there. You can review it if you wish before you come to class. Come with questions that you may have on the slides. So this is where I'm going to stop sharing now because I want to give you a chance.
Is it tomorrow or Thursday?
Sorry, yes, Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday. All right, so I'm giving you a chance now to, who am I missing? I'm not seeing Roslyn at all.
I'm there.
Don't pay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think my laptop has an issue and I don't know how to solve that issue right now.
Okay, well, you're going to fix it. You're going to work on it for the
I don't know if I'll ever be able to fix it.
You gotta get help, Roslyn. You have to.
Okay.
I
But
wanna be
I can see everybody. I can hear fine. So that's
but
true.
we can't see you. That's the thing.
I know.
And you're disappearing, Jessica.
I'm there. I won't go anywhere.
What is going on in St. Lucia today?
Jessica, I can't
It's a
see you.
nationwide
Yeah,
conference.
and
I see you
Ophelia.
at the end.
Dana is nice and
They're
bright.
not allowed in the wilderness or not in the wilderness.
Tell you.
Let's you're home.
Yes, I'm home. I had some serious problems. I had to face a hard drive because I was having some crazy problems. That's why it took me so long. You know, but I'm here. I'm home.
So you're all set for the remaining summer.
Yes, I am.
Are any challenges that I should be aware of in terms of you being able to come to classes, students?
Well, school is still on.
And are
Exam.
you able to join from the time when we start or the class starts? Are you going to be home or at school still?
Well, at the time, I'll be at school at 2 at class time.
I will be at school as well.
Principal or someone to get
Oh, so what time, how long will it take you to get home?
say an hour.
Wow.
Okay, so you'll join at 3.
I want that dog. That dog is a bad dog. I want it.
That was you, Dana? Whose dog was that, Dana? That's yours?
Is that a pit bull?
What was that? That song came from?
Hello.
Alright. Okay, so this brings us to the end of our first class. I think we survived. Let's give it. We did well. You did really well. The reading for tomorrow is already up.
Yeah.
For Thursday, it's actually 2 chapters. Yeah, they're there. So I'm gonna ask you to try and get that reading done. And you know the routine now. What you need to do is to prepare your creative piece, demonstrate your understanding of the reading.
Hmm.
So you're gonna bring those, right? So that. Okay. All right. And on Thursday, I am going to bring the first assignment and I will explain it.
Okay.
All right. So go to bed now.
Nah.
Okay.
I'm not going to bed. I'm going to work.
I'm home. Luckily, you're home. So I'm actually going to the gym now, and then I'll get home. Sure. So,
Okay.
on Thursday. Bye.
Bye.
Yes, I'm working on my summer body.
See you, Talia and Coach. Look at you. I'm going to pay my light bill now.
You will pay it online?
Yeah.
Right. Go on, girl. And whoever's down go to you, go and feed your dog.
Talia, you better go home. We are home.
Yes, good point.
I do not have to drive all the way from
Look at my face, good.
But I still drive on Mondays and Wednesdays.
You see my face?
Drive 1 hour 15 minutes to go, 1 hour 15 minutes to come back.
Brief.
You see all that? Yeah. But I'm home tonight. I'm glad. Bye, Dexter and Jessica and Miss Daley, Dr. Daley.
Yes.
Very nice teacher. Cutting, what's the joke?
Is that your assessment. And I see what you did.
Yeah, need no extra grade for stepping up to the
Yes.
teacher.
No. All right then. See ya.
Bye-bye. Talia, how many minutes do you have to drive?
I have about a half hour drive ahead.